stream.
Yes.
So hello everybody, my name is Andrew from Visions TV Online, and I hope you are doing really well. You know, I've been away, but I was waiting for this specific moment where I get to meet Grime Kendrick once again. And listen, he is a legend. You know, he's known for songs like Shine Jesus Shine, Knowing You, The Servant King. Listen, Amazing Love. Gosh, these tracks are like down. It's really down my heart. Like these songs, especially Knowing You, Knowing You, Jesus. Like that song, I used to sing that song every day at my church. And that song used to bring me to tears because it's just such a relational song that actually speaks to many people who've been speaking to and knowing about Christ, our Lord and Savior. So without further ado, I'm introducing to you the legendary Grime Kendrick. How are you doing, Grime Kendrick?
I'm very well, thank you. Nice to meet you again, Andrew.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So this year we're celebrating your 50th year in songwriting, in music. How does that feel to you?
It feels a bit unreal, you know.
Wow.
50 years, like it's half a century, and it was yeah, it was just I just stepped out on a gap year really from college. I've been writing songs since my teens, and then we had a little band based at church.
Sure.
And then when that band broke up, I went off to college, and I didn't have a band, so I had to write my own songs. No one else was going to sing them, so I kind of became a singer-songwriter, if you like.
Okay.
And after I qualified as a school teacher, I thought, well, I've got a few invitations. I'll see what happens. You know,
Wow.
I'll step out. And my gap year kind of went from 1 to 2 to 3. It's added up to, you know, it's a long gap year, 50 years really, half a century.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it's a real privilege to be able to do that, to be able to do what you love doing as your work, you know.
Wow. So what gave you that real motivation to actually step out and actually start writing your music? Because songwriting is really a gift, is really a download, and to actually do it at that particular time of your life, you might have had some struggles along the way. So what was your motivation?
Well, I think, you know, when I guess I first wrote a couple of songs in my teens and played them to a few friends. And once you get a bit of affirmation, right? I was a very shy teenager, very quiet. I wasn't very good at sports. You know, I was just kind of blending in with the crowd.
Sure.
And 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 then I discovered there's something I can do, you know.
Okay.
And it very quickly became my passion. It was also the era where the singer-songwriter kind of was born, if you like, in culture. And the Beatles, you know, they were writing songs. They didn't have any musical training or background. Simon and Garfunkel. I mean, there's a whole load of music just burst upon the scene when I was a teenager, and I loved that music. And so to discover I could actually make a song, I was sold on it. You know, I think I told my mother when I was about 15, I want to be a songwriter when I, you know, when I
Yeah.
grow up. I'm sure she nodded and encouragingly, but kind of thought, no, this boy needs a proper job. You know?
So was that difficult for you to actually do that transition then? Because how was your parents like when you said that you were going to go do your songwriting and actually pursue your music career? And did they actually foresee you reaching this pinnacle point of your life that you've done 50 years
Goodness
and
me.
been so successful with it?
um, Well, I think it was actually it was a very gradual thing. I mean, I did the sensible thing and went off to train to be a teacher. You know, and
Yeah,
when I was still at school in the sixth form, I was had quite an itch to join a band and go off, you know, and just do my thing. And I think thankfully I resisted that, or it didn't work out because I wasn't ready. But little by little, you know, as I gained experience, it grew. But
sure.
actually, my motivation way back at the beginning was to share the message. You know, my father was a pastor. I loved the Bible, loved the Bible stories.
Sure.
I wanted to share the story, and for me, I wasn't a preacher, I wasn't this or that, but I could write a song and get people to listen.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't all message songs. I was just writing songs about the way I saw the world or how I felt, you know.
Yeah.
But in terms of, and then when I finally stepped out on that gap year I mentioned,
Yeah.
uh, I was most of my invitations were to people who were trying to put on an event to get the conversation going about Jesus, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it might be a kind of coffee bar attached to a church, or it might be a small concert somewhere. It might be a school. Actually, we often get invited, often got invited into schools. Might do a school assembly or a lunchtime concert, or
Sure.
you know. So that was always at the heart of it. And then, you know, as the years went by, this whole new way of worshipping started to arise. At least it was new to us uh, in the churches. And I began to be influenced by that. And, you know, eventually, over many years, I started to write songs for church, you know.
Yeah.
Originally, it was me, the singer-songwriter, in Grime
Sure.
in concert sort of thing, you know.
So now you must have many years of highlights that actually stood out in your memory, and it must be a full bank of highlights and memories for you. But which one or which few stands out to you?
Oh my goodness. Which decade are we talking about? I guess. Um, I mean, there were a few moments when I mean, life, particularly for creatives, is you know, it's a lot of hard work and in obscurity, you know, and then maybe you get an opportunity and you remember those. And I remember I'd been asked to play guitar on a tour. There was some guys putting on tours. This is way back in, my goodness, must have been about 1970 or 71 or something. This shows how long ago it was.
Yeah.
Um, and on the tour bus, um, which wasn't one of these flashy tour buses with beds, it was just a coach. um, and you know, on some of these long journeys, I get my guitar out, and you know, you do that. You know, you sing a
Yeah.
few songs, and I've written these songs, and so the guys running the tour got to hear some of these songs, and then they had an event booked, and a band was coming over from America
Okay.
to headline this, to be one of the artists on this concert. It was at this Central Westminster, actually, up in
Wow.
London. Quite a good
Yeah.
venue, you know.
Okay.
Anyway, this band, they had some problems. I don't know if it was visa or travel. Anyway, they couldn't make it. So there's a gap in the program. So the guys took a risk on me. They said, Graham, you got 15 minutes, you know, get up there and, you know, play some of your songs. Um, and it really went down really well. I was probably the most surprised of all, because they were very kind of introverted, serious, folky, folky songs. But after that, because they got such a good reaction from the people,
Yeah.
they said, "Okay, do you want to make an album?" You know.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, so that was a moment, finding myself on a stage of a quite a big venue up in London, and being able to do my thing.
Wow, wow. Now talking about up in London. Now I hear that you're going to be doing your concert where it all began. So
Right,
uh
right.
so and that's all the way in Putney, correct?
That's right. Yes, I spent quite a lot of my life in London, but we moved. My father took on a pastorate in Putney at what was a Baptist church then,
Okay.
just off the high street, and that coincided with my teenage years. So that was actually where I first started writing songs, and
Wow.
formed a band with my brother and sister and some friends, and we made a terrible racket in the basement. And
Do you want
but
to give
people were
them
very,
give them a shout out? What's their names? What's their names? Your brother
yes.
and sisters.
Yeah, it was Peter and Julian, and there was Richard, and I mean the membership kind of changed a bit, as it does in these
Yeah.
things. Yeah, so that church building in Putney has got a lot of memories for me, and I suddenly thought, because I went there to do some filming. Where TBN did a documentary recently, which they put out at Easter,
Yes.
and in the course of that, we went to the Putney building, and when we were there, I thought it'd be great to do a concert here and kind of honor the past, honor all the
Wow.
people. Most of them have passed away now, but just honor the fact that people encouraged me, and put up with me,
Wow.
and enabled me. There was a sort of a seed bed there, where seeds were able to grow. So we're going to do that, and have a couple of my regular musicians there. I have a little kind of acoustic trio that I work with. So quite an intimate setting. So it's a lovely building for concerts. It's got a balcony, and also a few friends there are going to turn up, and ask me a few questions, or uh, they might be asked a few questions about the journey that we've been on.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a really lovely evening of worship, music, and conversation and interview.
Sure, amazing. And that's the name of your EP is called Where It Began, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So two, 2 or 3 years ago, I was with, I know Jake Isaac because he grew up as a lad in a church I was part of in London when I
Okay.
lived in Southeast London. And so he occasionally played drums for me. It was like when he was like 14 years old or whatever,
Oh
in
wow.
worship. And so we've sort of had a conversation going for a number of years. And we were together, and I played him one of my very early songs, which I wrote when I was about 20, 21 years old,
Wow.
called Simon's Song, which became the title track of my very first album. And
Wow.
he said, Graham, I never knew about any of these early songs, the singer-songwriter era. And he really liked it. He said, he kind of challenged me. He said, you should write some more of these. And I said, well, there's not really much call for it. But it kind of rang true. And he clinched it by saying, look, Graham, if you write a few of those songs, I will produce a little EP for you, just as a gift, as a favor to you.
Oh wow.
I mean, that was an offer I couldn't refuse,
Ah.
because Jake is such a talented
Yes,
talented
it is.
guy, and he's a great producer as well as singer and songwriter.
Yeah.
So but that's the story behind it. So the songs got written, and we mastered them, actually at the end of last year, and then we thought, okay, what do we do with these songs? At which point, the guy who looks after my social media, said, Graham, do you realize that next year marks 50 years since you set out full time?
Wow.
And I thought, okay, no, I didn't realize that. I hadn't clocked that. But suddenly it all fell together. Thought, well, this we need to tell the story and
Sure.
track back to the beginning. Yeah, so we did that album at Putney on June the 11th. This concert, I'm going to be
Yeah.
doing a couple of the songs, at least from that new EP. So yeah, it's been lovely the way it just unfolded, you know.
That is amazing. And on this EP, you've got artists such as Loreen Cato and
Right.
Lucy Gramble.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
how did those collaborations come about?
Um, well, uh, Lucy, I met a few years ago. Things like David's Tent, and she occasionally used to come down to a local 24-hour worship, the Burn. Some people might have heard of here where I live, and partly through Jake, because he's good friends with Lucy. He said, you know, one of these songs you ought to write with Lucy. I think you really write well together. So I got in touch with her, and she was really up for it. And we ended up writing a song about Lazarus, about the resurrection of Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. Um, and we've written a couple of songs since then. Loreen, I had never come across her before. Actually, I must forgive my ignorance, but um, the we're both connected with Compassion International, which is
Yeah.
a charity, and they did a Christmas show, and we were both on it. That's so I met her there, um, and I got to hear some of her amazing singing, you know, and checked her out
Yeah.
on YouTube and things like that. So yeah, got to know her in that context, and then one of the songs called "The Darkness," which is a very, very atmospheric song about Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane and making the
Mm,
choice
yeah.
to go to the cross, and the kind of, you know, what was going through his mind and his feelings and emotions. And I was listening back to the track, which was almost finished, or we thought this finished, you know, one of Jacob beautifully produced. And there came a point in the song where I thought something needs to happen here, you know.
Yeah.
And what I heard or imagined was a gospel singer kind of improvising out there, really just like
Yeah.
not so much words as emotion, you know.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, and as a kind of counterpoint to the lyric I'd be singing.
Yeah.
And I thought, who could do that? And bing, I thought if anybody can nail that, it's Loreen. And
Yes.
so yeah, so I asked her, and she said yes. Wow. So
Amazing.
yeah,
Oh wow, wow. I love that. And I love the synergy between the two artists that you've worked with on the EP. It gives a dynamic from different generations as well
yeah,
in the EP. And you probably might have not noticed that you are representing different generations
really,
in
okay,
in the EP. So, and that's amazing to be doing that and
yeah, yeah,
recognizing different artists from different generations,
yeah,
which it speaks to different audiences. So, which is
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah. I mean, actually, I think it's a very important thing because often generations clash with each other. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
now there needs to be a kind of creative clashing in a way, in a positive way, you know, an
sure.
interaction because culture changes and so on. But I think it's really sad if generations just, you know, go off in different directions and don't have a heart to stand together, particularly in you know in the Christian faith, which is multi-generational. You know, I love the fact that I'm part of a multi-generational church. You know,
Yes.
and there's just every age group there. Um, but I think in the whole thing of generations, there needs to be, if there's a relationship, there can then be a sort of a passing on. You know, you try and
Yeah.
pass on the best of the wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And while you're doing that, because it's a two-way traffic, while you're doing
Indeed.
that, you're also learning new things from the new generation, and it's
Indeed.
challenging me not to get stuck in my ways or
Sure.
rigid, but to be open-hearted. And I think it's a really important thing.
Amazing, amazing.
Mm.
And I hear from a little white birdie that you are going to be also recognized for a Lifetime Achievement Awards for the TMMP Awards this year, which is a collaborative awards with media outlets across the UK
Right.
coming together to recognize our top UK Christian and gospel artists. Which is a huge honor. And how does that feel to be being recognized through different media outlets? Obviously, a step forward, and you've got Integrity Music that's a part of this. You've just got a number of media platforms that have suggested and etc. Put your name forward and to be honored in this particular way. Well, how does this mean? What does this mean to you?
No, I think it. Yeah, obviously, it means a lot, and I think um, this. I think it does relate back to what I was saying about honoring people
Mm,
who may be a different generation or different background, culture, or so on. It really should be part of. It should be a bigger part, of what we do.
sure,
There's healthy competition, but at the same time, there's honoring one
yeah,
another in both directions. So I think that's how I see it. That
sure,
you know, it's great to be honored, but it's also great to try to call forth the best out of every age group.
sure.
In the church. Yeah.
Okay, well, one last question. Words to describe yourself. Give us some words would you describe yourself with?
Describe myself. Okay. um,
Well, people
well,
will call you a legend, but
do
other than
they? Oh,
that,
well, you want character or I don't know quite what you how to answer that question. Describe myself serious but
okay.
happy. Yeah, I'm interested in the detail. I like things to be theologically accurate. Not
Sure.
that I'm a theological expert myself, but I always, you know, try and check with those who are. I think I like to get things just right.
Sure.
I'm a bit of an obsessive editor, particularly of lyrics. You know,
Okay.
I might write just to get one line right. I might write down 40 alternatives until I get the one I really
Sure.
like. So that I don't know how easy that is to live with, but my wife is very patient. Um, yeah, so I'm an introvert, but I'm also very relational. I love being part of a community and of working with teams and finding my place in that. Does that does that answer your question to some
Yes, it
degree?
does. It does. It does. It's good to see people's reaction to that type of question. Because how do I actually describe myself? Oh, that's a good question. Well, because you usually get other people describing you, but how would you describe yourself? But
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. And other people probably see us a bit more clearly than we see ourselves very
it's
often.
true.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Graham, listen, it's been an honor to have you on Visions TV online. We know that we've got the event that's happening in Putney on the 11th of June. So people, please make sure you grab your tickets. because it is an event that you do not want to miss. You're going to have performances from different artists as well. It's just going to be amazing night. So make sure, and also download, stream the EP Where It Began. Listen, it's got some great tunes. And if you haven't heard any of Graham's historical tunes, then you need to make sure you go on Spotify and make sure you probably thinking, what is Graham's songs again? And then you play it and be like, shine, Jesus, shine. And that's it. Everyone remembers what it is. So listen, make sure you go check out Graham Kendrick and his music. It'll be such a blessing to you. Graham, it's been an honor, and thank you for coming on Visions TV Online.
Thank you very much, Andrew. God bless.
God bless.